Hello everyone. So I wanted to introduce you guys to my newest acquisition and welcome you to the first part of the RoboCop gun project. Well, not that RoboCop gun. Um, this one. Okay, well maybe it's not an Auto 9, but it is in keeping with the channel, and it was used in a RoboCop movie, specifically RoboCop 3. Okay, maybe not the best RoboCop movie, but um, it was interesting in that they used Glocks, and they used quite a few of them. In one of the opening scenes, they actually had maybe about a dozen of them.
What can I do for you, pal?
Nobody move! Everything in the register now! Do it!
What's it like being a rocket scientist?
And some of them had a laser sight attached. And the film was made, I believe, in 1991. Didn't come out till 93. And they had the futuristic laser sight attached. Now, of course, RoboCop's gun was an Auto 9, and it had a lot of attachments to it. So, to kind of make it futuristic. But interestingly, the other guns that they used, the SIG P226 and the 228 in the sequel, did not have any attachments at all. But in RoboCop 3, they put futuristic attachments on it. So I have a hair on my in my nose, and it's because of my cat. Love my cat to death. I'm always kissing him and stuff, and the hair gets all over. Sorry. Um, but yeah, they had a laser sight attached, and I'll go into greater detail about that. That's why this is going to be a multi-part um, video. I'm first going to introduce you to the gun, and then we'll look at the attachment that I have and how it relates to RoboCop, and we'll go from there. Um, now, interestingly, the guns that were used in RoboCop 3 went on to be used in other movies. One called Cyber Tracker, which is a terrible movie, by the way. You can watch it here on YouTube for free if you want. That actually showcases the gun a little bit more. And then there's another movie called Carnosaur, which features the same guns used in RoboCop 3. So apparently these guns hung around for a while with their attachments. They were used for futuristic guns. So what is this? This is a Glock 17 Gen 2. A Gen 2. And I went looking for these on Gunbroker and on a number of different websites, and for like when I first started looking for them, the prices were fairly good. I just realized that I'm holding something that's black against my shirt that's dark. Um, Hang on. Okay, so hopefully you can see it now a little bit better. So I first started looking for these a few months ago. Found a couple of deals. They were like just over 300, and but I missed out on them because of circumstance, and and then I noticed the prices started to go up naturally because I wanted to get one. So I was just watching the prices just go higher and higher and higher to a point where I really didn't want to pay that. But I did a search online and on another website, I found a vendor who had, I think, 3 of these. He had 217s and a 22. I didn't want to do a 22 because I wanted to have everything in the same caliber. Because I don't like having to, if I buy bullets, I want to have them, I don't want to have to buy like 10 different types. So yeah, and but this vendor was local, and so I could actually go and put my hands on this and function check it and all that stuff, and it was great. It was like meant to be. Obviously, since I have it. So, yeah, and I actually sold, through him, the vendor, I actually sold one of my other guns, which paid for this. So, it worked out. So yeah, we have an early Gen 2 here. I think it's an early Gen 2. Maybe it's not. I could be wrong. I've contacted Glock to see if, when this was made, but it's a really low serial number. And it has Austrian proofs. And we'll get closer looks at it, so you can actually see it. But it's got Austrian proofs on it. Probably can't see them there. But it also has, and I didn't know they did this, also has Austrian proofs on the frame as well, which I thought was pretty cool. And all the numbers, serial numbers match, so that's good. It's a police trade-in, which is cool. It has Trigicon night sights on it, but they don't work. They're long since burned out, and they're metal, interestingly. Oh, I should probably... Yeah, it's empty. So, having to show it at the camera and do it like this, it's like, But, yeah, and there's a little bit of wiggle. I mean, it's very, there's a little bit of wiggle up here, but looking at the bore, looking at the internals, it doesn't seem to have been fired a lot. So, that's pretty cool. This is kind of one of those things where I'm not really going to use it a whole bunch. It's mainly for its collector value and its connection to film and television and that kind of thing. It seems like every movie and TV show in the 90s and early 2000s used these, so they're kind of ubiquitous, and that's kind of one of the cool things about them. Now, what I found interesting about this was that, unlike the 43 that I have, this one actually, it's kind of rough. It has some the milling work on it isn't, it's not perfect, like the other one that I have. Like my 43, it's kind of a little rougher. And that's interesting, because they were relatively new, and the company had never made these before, so yeah. And I had to buy a new mag, and it came with the number 9 scribbled all over it. Got these off eBay, and this is a 10 rounder because my state just instituted a new 10 round mag rule, which is kind of a pain in the ass. It would have been nice to have had the original mag to go with it, but c'est la vie. But yeah, it feels really cool. In the hand, it's definitely bigger than my 43, but it feels surprisingly good, and this grip angle is great. I love this. The grip's a little big for me, but yeah. So, Its condition, it's got a little bit of wear on it, just because of, uh, being in police use. It was riding in a holster most of its life. It doesn't appear to have been fired very much. Um, there is a chip here out of the frame. The frame on the bottom here is actually, and you'll see this when we get up close to it, but it's actually very thin. And so this part actually broke off today. This part right here. Luckily, I build scale models, so I have super glue, really really good super glue, and it actually works on this material, this polymer material, so that's good. Um, if you are in a similar situation, maybe you can find that. You can find it in, well, this says Hobbytown, USA. But yeah, I was so surprised to find one locally and so happy, and yeah. So let's take a closer look at this thing, and when we take a closer look, I'll show you screen grabs that I have, and we'll talk about, you know, its use in film. Okay, and now we focus on the gun itself. Here it is, and here you can see the Austrian proof marks. The little flag has a 2 inside of it, which I couldn't believe I could actually see. But I think that signifies that it was test fired and assembled in Vienna. Here's that proof mark on the frame. I'm sure mine's not anything special, but that's not something that I've noticed before. It does say Glock Inc., Smyrna, Georgia. And you can see where I repaired it there on the bottom. So you can see how thin these walls are here and how they're kind of chewed up. Apparently this person trained a lot with this, which I guess is a good thing. But I don't know if these things have a tendency to be fragile over time. If the plastic becomes brittle. You can notice there's a serial number in there. Maybe you can't see it. But yeah, that's some serial number that someone put in there. Probably someone, the officer who owned it or utilized it. Yeah, that's very cool. So I was checking the sites last night, and so I don't think they're tritium. I think there's something else, because when you put a, I'm sorry that my camera's having such a hard time focusing. When you put a light source, like a flashlight, up against it, up against the sights, the white area you see there glows, well, it doesn't glow red, it kind of glows red on the front and the back. And the two little slots you see there, they're kind of in a, they're kind of horizontal in orientation, which is kind of cool, when you're trying to sight and it gives you two horizontal lines there. Yeah. that's pretty cool. But yeah, the two horizontal slits there, they glow green, but they don't glow for very long. Now I suspect, although I don't know for certain, that this gun is actually, these sights are actually the same vintage as the gun. Again, could be wrong. But if that is the case, not only age and wear, but also the technology of the time might suggest why they don't glow for very long. Sorry, just trying to get my camera to focus here. There we go. Yeah, it's nice that the outer ring there, around there, glows red. So yeah. Yeah, you know, got a little bit of wear, but that's, you know, that patina is part of it. You know, it's part of the fun. You can see the scratches there and whatnot. And on some of the raised areas, you know, there's a little bit of wear, which again, nice. So yeah, I enjoy prop replicas, props from film and television, and I'm sure big surprise there. But for me, this is kind of what that is. You know, it's not a, although it is a functioning firearm, for me that's not the point of owning it, not the primary point. So, but I mean, this specific type of Glock was used in one of my favorite TV series, The Wire. And it was used throughout the run of the show, even though the show ended in, I think, 2008 or so. And I think these were, I don't know, maybe they were used by some places, but I doubt big cities like Baltimore, although maybe. I doubt they would use them for that long. But it is Baltimore, so, you know, who knows. Yeah. So it's nice to have it on that level. But also the RoboCop connection. But I mean, these things, like I said before, they were used throughout most film and television of the 90s and early 2000s. They were ubiquitous. You know, they were gun. You know, and it is kind of futuristic. You know, I mean, when you look at other guns and how this thing is really heavy to hold with one hand and hold it out like this. When you have, you know, you look at other guns. Let's say, look at a Smith & Wesson 59, okay, or a Sig P226, right? You've got all this stuff on the outside of it. You have all these lines. I like the Sig. I like the lines on it. Never fired one, but in terms of aesthetics, you know, this thing looks sleek. Yes, it's blocky, it's glocky, but it has a sleekness to it. It seems futuristic, and that's why in RoboCop 3 and those other cheeseball movies, they utilize these as a futuristic looking gun. You know, even though this came out in '82, they weren't released in America until '86. And then, you know, you didn't see them all over the place. But it's just, I think it's just looks futuristic. It looks like something that, you know, when I was growing up, this is what the future looked like, you know. It's like from, you know, put a laser sight on it, it looks like it's from 2046 or something, you know. That's the thing with that's the thing with revolvers, you know, is you can't really get that, all those actions, you know. It's not as much fun as a semi-auto where you can drop the slide release. Slide release on this is one of the best I've felt on a Glock. Usually they're pretty stiff, and you know, the size of the lever would suggest that it's not meant to be used as an actual release, but rather just, you know, as an aid to locking, or you know, but I still like to have a slide release. But yeah, I mean, look at that. I mean, it's a fairly thick gun, for me at least, especially after handling the 43. I mean, there's not a lot on the outside, you know, so there's not a lot for it to get caught on. But yeah, well, I guess that's it for part 1. Stay tuned for part 2, where we examine the laser sight that I have, and we'll actually install it on this thing. Now, I'm going to try and include a clip here. This clip is from, maybe I'll include a couple of clips, but it's from the 1998 film U.S. Marshals, which is a kind of sequel, in a sense, to The Fugitive. Tommy Lee Jones reprises his role, and Glocks kind of feature a little bit in the film in a couple of key scenes. And in one of the scenes, Tommy Lee Jones takes the mag out, and it makes the sound, and the resistance that you see in the film of him removing it is actually how it is in real life. And you may say, well, yeah, obviously they used Glocks, but sometimes, you know, the Foley artists don't use the actual gun, or they add you know, they add sounds and you know, through the sound mix and all that. But that's fairly accurate, and that was kind of fun to experience in real life. Now the guns in the film are Glock 22s, and this is, of course, is a 17, but they're the same size, so and the same functionality.
Can I see it?
Kind of sort of want to emulate you, be my mentor and all.
These things are so cool.
Yeah.
They shoot underwater. You can pour sand in them and they'll shoot. Shoot every time.
And so I actually contacted Glock yesterday and asked them when this was manufactured, and apparently this Glock 17 Gen 2 was manufactured in June of 1989. So yeah, it was fairly early in the run, which would seem to be in the run of the Gen 2, um, which makes sense given how low the serial number is, and the tooling marks on parts of it. It seems a little rough, um, but yeah. So that was cool. So I've got a vintage 1989 Glock Gen 2, which I'm very happy about. Like I said, I bought this for its collector's value, not just as something to sit in a safe, but something for me to enjoy, but and perhaps enjoy shooting, at the range. But you know, I mean, one of these days, these things are going to be, the price of them is going to be outrageous, and it's probably going to be out of reach for me unless I start saving my pennies now. But that's why I bought this now, and that's why I decided to do this project. I had a few bucks in the bank, and I thought, hey, let's buy something that has a degree of use, but also has some value outside of functionality. So, yeah. So I want to thank all of you for tuning in. Next time we will go in part 2. We'll talk about the laser sight, the vintage laser sight that I acquired, and how it relates to RoboCop, and we'll install it on this thing and see how it looks. All right, and I want to say thank you to my subscriber. Thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate it. You're the first, and you have that distinction. I don't know who you are because YouTube didn't tell me, but thank you very much for liking and subscribing. I really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy all of my further content. Alright. See you next time, guys. Say bye-bye, Glocky. Bye-bye.